Hello class, we're still in Unit B and today we're going to move on to Chapter 1, Section 3. So if you want to follow along in your textbook, you want to open up Chapter 1, Section 3, and we'll be working our way through that today. First of all, I'd like to take a look at some of the basic foundations on which our specific kind of democracy is based, and how it fits with the different economic systems. As I mentioned in a previous lecture, we're not a true democracy in that sense. We're more of what we call a democratic republic. Now there's important differences that we noted in the last lecture, that with a true democracy, all power comes from people, not from God, and the people can determine all things as far as what's right, what's wrong, whereas we know that authority and what is right and what is wrong comes from God, and then to leaders who are then responsible to God for how they use that authority. Article 4 of our own Constitution requires each state maintains a republican form of government. Now that clues us into the fact that our form of government will be a democratic republic. A republic means leaders who represent the authority of God. And democratic republic means those leaders are put in position through a democratic process, thus voting in our particular case. People then are not the source of all authority as in a true democracy. A democracy would be a deterioration of the idea of a republic as God had established, and therefore a simple democracy would soon slide into serious trouble, and obviously other practical problems as well based on the size of our country. Now, our particular form of democratic republic is founded on some notions, and we're going to go over them now, and then there will be a classroom activity where you're going to, as a table, figure out how we're doing on those ideas. First, the fundamental worth and dignity of all people. Ask yourself, as if you're assigned that to your table, how have we been doing on that? Does America recognize the worth of all different types of people and treat them with dignity? A respect for equality of all persons. Are people given equal opportunity in America regardless of color or sex or physical disability? Third, a faith in majority rule, but the minority still can speak and not be squashed. Is that happening in America? An acceptance of compromise. Do you see in America today a compromise between the two parties, for example? Fifth, the widest degree of individual freedom. We all understand that to live in a society you can't have total freedom to do whatever you want. There must be some constrictions in order for society to function. But one of the notions that we established our country is as wide as possible freedoms. How are we doing on that? So those are some things I want you to think about. Also, what type of, the book talks a little bit about what type of economic system would go best and go hand in hand with the type of government. Well, in America, with the Democratic Republic, a free enterprise economic system works best, where the individual, and biblically, God has given private ownership. The Bible talks in many cases of people owning property, owning a business, and not to steal. Of course, it talks about not stealing. So, for those reasons, we know that the Bible would support a free enterprise system, much like we have in America, which is dependent more on the supplies of laws of supply and demand rather than on government controls. Since the more recent recession of 2008 and 9 and following, our government has become more in tune with what's called a mixed economy. That means there is some level of government intrusion into the economy. So that's something we could also discuss in class, how comfortable we are. One of the things that's really helped our form of government is the internet. The internet provides what we call transparency. That's a vocab word you should be familiar with. Transparency obviously means be able to see through something and see the inner workings of the government. The internet makes it available to quickly publish, for example, any information that's going on, what the Congress is speaking about, live streaming, web streaming. Information can be quickly gathered on any form of government, any branch, and so this will help us as citizens to be more aware of what is going on in our government. However, we do have to be cautious with what source we're using on the internet and how reliable that is, would be another factor. Some of the examples, the great examples of websites that do track this and keep us informed are as follows. Feel free to click on any of those when you open up the PowerPoint that's available on the blog that we talked about in the syllabus.